Okay, I'm back. So I got all this mess here, but we're gonna look at power supplies for DIN rails. Now I like automation and DIN rails. Now if we're powering, I was doing this video for the AI phones, but it can be for anything really. So like I use DIN rails when I'm doing a small project. So in this case, I'm putting together an intercom system for a whole bunch of buildings, and they're air gapped, so they're not connected to the internet anywhere. And so to have to put a huge PoE switch became a hassle. So what we're doing is we just, especially for a single door, but we want to be able to expand to multiple doors later. So what we have here is this is called DIN rail power supply. So this is used a lot in automation, and you can see it just mounts to a standard DIN rail. Now when you look at it, when you buy these, this is about like 50 bucks, but you can see first thing you gotta check when you buy these is input. So again, it takes 120 to 240 volts and 50 to 60 hertz. So that's good. You need like decent power supply, and the output's 24 volts, 4 amps. So this is super important when you buy these. First of all, you want to make sure, you want to check what your input is. Now you're almost always going to see 100 to 240. Well, not always, but that's pretty typical. And then your output, you're either going to have AC or DC. So you need to know what equipment you're powering, switches, relays, whatever, and then you'll know what output you want, so AC or DC. And then you want to check 12 or 24 volts. And you gotta be very careful because now a lot of automation equipment maybe can run like any 12 or 24 volts or even anywhere in between. But I've seen like access control systems from other countries that use 12 or 13 or 14 volts, and 24 volts will absolutely cook them. So now the 4 amps, we don't really care about that, but what's important here is you gotta think about, this is a maximum. So this thing can put out a maximum of 4 amps. Once you start to exceed 4 amps, what happens is the voltage starts to drop, and then you won't burn connected equipment, but it will start to malfunction, especially if the voltage drops significantly below 4 amps. So when we get to like 5, when we get to say, so what you want to do is you want to take all your equipment, like we're going to show you in the next video. We got the switch, right? So the switch uses 1 amp. So I say, okay, I can size this, and the more amps you have, the more expensive your power supply, and the bigger it is. So you gotta think about that. Now, if you look on the front here, we got line and neutral. So we plug in our power and from our AC, and then out here we get DC. So we get 2 pluses and 2 minuses. So we can power 2 separate things with this. You can actually power more stuff. You can probably shove a lot of wires into here. It's not good practice, but like so generally what I do is if I have let's say a whole bunch of things, then I have a DIN rail connector so that I can split the power out into like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 items, and then my wiring is nice and clean. If you want to see more, I can make another video, but like generally you just push your wire into here, and then I'm going to show you that. And then if you want to get your wire out, you just need a small control screwdriver, like a flathead, and you can push this rectangular slot, and that releases the wire. Now when you look here, this thing says it's 24 volts, but it actually can go down to like between 23 and up to 28 and a half. So you can increase the screw, or you can turn the screw here with a Phillips, and you can adjust the voltage if you want a little bit more or a little bit less. And sometimes you need that because you might see a voltage drop, especially if your quality of your power coming in isn't great. But these things they're pretty smart. Now the other thing you gotta think about when you're designing your system is that this needs a good amount of ventilation so that it doesn't overheat. So you gotta make sure to leave enough space on the top and the bottom for air to get through. So if you have any questions, please post a comment. Thank you.